Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll get started here in just a moment. Hope you're doing well wherever you're tuning in from. I did come on just a little after 7, so we'll give it a few more seconds for others to see the live feed. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are tuned in to Esoteric Wisdom and Spiritual Truths, and my name is Nehru. If you are interested in more information about me, please take a look at the About section of the channel. And if you are interested in spiritual services that I offer at this time, you can take a look at the description section of this live video. All right. And so, happy Wednesday evening to everyone. Okay. We do a canonical reading every Sunday morning at 8, or excuse me, at 10 a.m. and every, yes, 10 a.m. and then every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. We are currently looking at the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua. Hello, only one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Blessings to you. Okay. Just clocking out. All right. And so, there's also a playlist. Okay. Thank you for the love. There's also a playlist. All right, of previously read chapters. Okay. So the 140th chapter of the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua, we are going to continue our journey. Hello, Chrissy. Thank you so much for tuning in. And at this point in Yeshua or Jesus's journey, at this point in their journey, okay, he's already let the 13 apostles know that he is, or I should say 12 plus Mary Magdalene, okay, that's 13, all right, already knew that he was going to be assassinated, he was going to be murdered, okay, and he's sharing with them how he's going to ascend. They are not quite understanding these things, okay. His life has already been threatened several times at this point, okay. And so we are going to pick it up in the 140th chapter. And again, this is the untold, at least in the Bible, the untold story for the most part of Yeshua, Christ, Issa, okay? But Christ is the spirit, Christ is not the man or the being, right? Chapter 140. Okay, and again, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've had a great Wednesday. Okay, happy birthday season to all of the cancers out there. Yeshua and the 3 disciples return to Capernaum. Yeshua receives the report of the 70. With his disciples, he goes through all Galilee, encouraging the believers. He heals a woman, relates the parable of the little seed and the great tree. Okay. The time had come for the return of the 70 whom YESHUA sent abroad to preach. And YESHUA, Peter, James, and John began their journey back to Galilee. They went up through Samaria. They passed through many villages and towns, and everywhere the people thronged the ways to see the man the 70 had told about. And YESHUA taught and healed the sick. And when they reached Capernaum, the 70 were there, and they were filled with joy. They said, "The Spirit of the Lord of hosts was with us all the way, and we were filled. The power of the sacred word was manifest in us. We healed the sick, we caused the lame to walk, the deaf to hear, the blind to see. The very devils trembled when we spoke the word, and they were subject unto us." Okay, so a successful report. Okay, those who were sent out, a successful report. All right. And YESHUA said, "As you were going on your way, the heavens were bright with light, the earth was bright, they seemed to meet and be at one. And I beheld, and Satan fell as lightning from the heavens." Let it be so today. And Satan fell as lightning from the heavens. Let it be so today. Behold, verse 9, "For you have power to tread on serpents and on scorpions." Serpents and scorpions. Some of you deal with serpents and scorpions right now. Some of you left scorpions and serpents behind. Some of you are being guided to leave serpents and scorpions behind. And these are symbols of the enemy's men. You are protected in the way of right, and naught can harm. And as you went, I heard a master say, "Well done." May it be said of you, may it be said of me, that as we go, the angels, the universe hears the master say, "Well done." But you may not rejoice, because you have the power to heal the sick and make the devils tremble by the word, for such rejoicing from carnal self. Or for such rejoicing is from carnal self. You may rejoice because the nations of the earth have ears to hear the word, and eyes to see the glory of the Lord, and hearts to feel the inner breathing of the holy breath. Okay. And you may well be glad, because your names are written in the book of life. Then YESHUA took to heaven and said, took to heaven and said, "I thank thee, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast revealed thyself to babes, and taught them how to light the path and lead the wise to thee." I apologize for that commercial in the background. "What thou hast given to me, lo, I have given to them. And through the sacred word I have bestowed on them the understanding heart, that they might know and honor thee through Christ, who was and is and evermore shall be." And again, that's not the man. Christ is not the man. Okay? Christ is the spirit of. And then he said, aside unto the 70 and 12, "Most blessed are your eyes, because you see the things you see, and blessed are your ears because they hear the things they hear. Okay? Again, good evening to everyone. I hope you are doing well wherever you're tuning in from, wherever your journey has you at this time. We are currently in the 140th chapter of the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua. Okay. And verse 19, and blessed are your hearts because you understand. In ages that are gone, the wise of earth, the prophets, seers, and kings desire to hear and see and know what you have heard and seen and known. But they had not attained and could not hear and see and know. And Yeshua said again, lo, I have gone before you many moons, and I have given to you the bread of heaven and the cup of life. Have been your buckler and your stay, but now that you have learned the way and have the strength to stand alone, behold, I lay my body down and I go to him who is the all. Okay, so once again, speaking of his ascension, okay, out of the 3D. In 40 days, then we will turn our faces toward Jerusalem, where I will find the altar of the Lord and give my life in willing sacrifice for men. Let us arise and go through all the coasts of Galilee and give a salutation of good cheer to all the sons of God by faith. And they arose and went. They entered every town and village and on the coast, and everywhere they said, the benedictions of Christ aside with you forevermore. Abide with you forevermore. Okay. Verse 26. Now, in a certain town, they went up to the synagogue upon the Sabbath day, and Yeshua taught. And as he spoke, 2 men brought on a cot a woman bent near double with disease. Okay? She had not risen from her bed for 18 years without a helping hand. And Yeshua laid his hand upon the woman, and he said, arise, be free from your infirmity. And as he spoke the word, the woman found that she was straight and strong. And she arose and walked and said, praise God. Okay? And we learned in the previous reading, I'm recalling in the previous reading, let's see, I was brought to verse 29. As he spoke the word, the woman found. Something was brought back to my remembrance here as I was reading verse 28. Perhaps it'll come back to me. But I was recalling something specifically from the last reading. Pertaining to healing. And yeah, so let's continue. Verse 30. The ruler of the synagogue was filled with wrath because the healer healed upon the Sabbath day. Once again, okay, they did not like Yeshua healing on the Sabbath day because of their religious rules. Okay, because of their religious rules. He did not censure Yeshua face to face, but turning to the multitude, he said, you men of Galilee, why do you break the laws of God? There are 6 days in every week when you may work, and then you may bring the afflicted to be healed. This is the day that God has blessed, the Sabbath day, in which men may not work. Okay. But the truth of the matter is, and I remember when I asked about this question, every day is the Sabbath day. Okay. Every day is holy. Okay. Not just the Sabbath day. Right. I remember inquiring about that. Verse 34, and Yeshua said, you inconsistent scribes and Pharisees, upon the Sabbath day you take your beasts of burden from their stalls and lead them forth to eat and drink. Is this not work? This daughter of your father Abraham, who has been bound for 18 years. Okay, so even she is a daughter of Abraham. Okay, I'm reminded of a childhood song. Father Abraham has many sons. As many sons as Father Abraham, and I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord, right arm, left arm. I don't know if anyone remembers that little jingle. All right. So verse 35, this daughter of your father Abraham, she is also a loved child, who has been bound for 18 years, has come in faith to be made free. Now tell me, man, is it a crime to break her bonds and set her free upon the Sabbath day? Yeah. Yeah, Chrissy. Yeah, Chrissy. Someone else remembers that little jingle. All right. We are in verse 37. And thank you so much for tuning in. The ruler said, no. The people all rejoiced and said, behold the Christ. And Yeshua spoke a parable. He said, the kingdom of the Christ is like a little seed that one put in the ground. It grew, and after many years became a mighty tree, and many people rested in its shade. And birds built nests and reared their young among its leafy boughs. Okay. Chapter 141, the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua. Yeshua speaks words of encouragement, rebukes an officious Pharisee, okay, attends a wedding feast, heals a dropsical man. I wonder what that is. Rebukes, okay, guests who seek chief seats. Okay, so someone's in it for the glamour, and relates a parable of a wedding feast. All right, chapter 141 of the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua the Christ, the untold, okay, and excluded from your Bible portion of the life of the one known as Jesus. And Yeshua went into another town upon the coast and spoke good words to cheer those who followed him. And one stood forth and said, Lord, are there few that enter into life? And Yeshua said, the way is rough that leads to life. Many of you can relate. The way is rough that leads to life, that leads to freedom. Freedom of the mind, freedom of the soul, freedom of the heart, freedom of the spirit. Okay. That way is a rough way. The gate is narrow and is guarded well, but everyone who seeks in faith shall find the way, and they who know the word may enter it, or enter in. Okay. But many seek the way for selfish gain. They pound upon the gate of life, but it is fast. The watchman from the turret says, I know you not. Your speech is that of Ashdod, and your robes are those of sin. Depart and go your way. And they will go their way with weeping and with gnashing of teeth. And they will be enraged when they see their father Abraham with Isaac, Jacob, and the prophets resting in the kingdom of the Christ, and they themselves debarred, exiled, kicked out. Okay? All right. Similar word, disbarred. Okay? All right. Verse 8. And lo, I say that men will come from lands afar, from east, from west, from north, and from south, and sit with me in consciousness of life. Behold, I say, the last shall be first, the first shall be the last. All men are called unto the kingdom of Christ, but few are chosen. For the pure in heart alone can see the King, but few are chosen. For the pure in heart alone can see the King. And as he spoke, a Pharisee came up and said, You men of Galilee, if you would save your life, remain not here. Flee instantly, for Herod swears he will take your life. And even now, his officers are seeking you. Okay? So King Herod sent out an entourage of soldiers to seek out those who were speaking the truth. Okay? And again, I remind us that this is what the enemy does. Okay? As I look up at the time, it is 7:28. Okay? That is 77. This is what the enemy does. Again, the liar is never assassinated. It's the truth speaker that is assassinated. Even if the truth speaker was once a liar, once the truth speaker starts speaking the truth speaker is assassinated. Even today, these are government hits, okay? These are family hits, okay? Poisoning each other's family members, okay? Friend on friend, okay? Murders, etc. Witchcraft, still going on today. Still going on today, okay? And Yeshua said, why is it that the Pharisees are so concerned about my life? And then he said unto the man who spoke, Go forth and say to thy sly fox, Behold, I heal the sick and cast unclean spirits out today, tomorrow, and the days to come, and then I will attain. Go to him, or go say to him, I need not fear in Galilee, for I must meet the cruel wrath of men within Jerusalem. Okay, so he already knew the time, the date, the place, the moment, the hour. He already knew. Okay. Verse 15. And while they tarried in the place, a man, a Pharisee, invited Yeshua and a few of those who followed him to dine with him upon the Sabbath to celebrate the marriage of his son. Among the guests was one afflicted with a dropsical disease. And Yeshua said to those who had sent to get from his own lips some words by which they might accuse of a crime. Okay. So they were trying to listen to what he was saying so that they could use something against him, something that he said. Again, still goes on today. Okay. We call it twisting someone's words. Okay. All right. Verse 18, you lawyers and you Pharisees, what do you say about the lawlessness of healing on the Sabbath day? Here is a man, one of your own, and he is sore distressed, Shall I, in God's own strength, say out the healing word and heal this man? The lawyers and the Pharisees were dumb. They answered not. Then Yeshua spoke the healing word and healed the man, and he, rejoicing, went his way. Then Yeshua said again unto the lawyers and the Pharisees, which one of you has a horse or cow, if it would fall into a pit upon the Sabbath day, would not call in his friends to help to draw it out? It's so funny how Yeshua often uses the same parable, okay, but just changes it just a little bit, okay, throughout this text. That's very interesting, throughout his teachings. Okay. And not a man could answer him, or could answer, here am I. And as Yeshua looked upon the guests who had been bidden to the feast, or invited to the feast, and saw them crowding in to get the highest seats, he said to them, you selfish men, why do you strive to take the highest seats when you are but invited guests? You do not show our host the courtesies of life. When men are bidden to a marriage feast, they should sit in the lower seats until the host shall place them where he wills. Okay? All right. And from this, we have the invention of the seating chart. Right? So, verse 27, you may, unbidden, take the highest seat, but then a man more honorable may come, and when the host shall bid you rise and take a lower seat, that he may honor his more worthy guest, you cannot help but blush for shame in your humility. Okay? Because you have to move seats. But if you take the lowest seat and then are honored by your host and asked to take a higher seat, you are esteemed and honored. Are esteemed and honored guests. Okay, so this also speaks to being meek. Okay, and meek does not mean being a doormat. Okay, this also speaks to being humble. Okay, or humble. Okay, some people do not pronounce the H, right? But that's what this is speaking to, okay? Paul said, the Apostle Paul said, I know when to be a base and I know when to be abound. I know when to be in my masculine energy and I know when to be in my feminine energy. And that's exactly what Yeshua is saying here, okay? All right, so being humble, okay? And offering that seat to someone else, okay? On that bus or wherever, when you are very well able to stand, okay? So, all right? Meekness, humbleness, niceness, however you want to word that. Verse 29, in this event, we note a principle in life, that he who exalt himself shall be abased, and he who humbles low himself shall be exalted in the sight of men. Then Yeshua spoke to all the guests. He said, when any one of you would make a feast, it should not be for friends or kindred or the rich. Okay. Also, something else that's being brought to my attention right now as I think about my own journey and how I am. Okay. In verse 29, that he would exalt himself. Okay. I think about my own journey and how I really prefer to be in the background. Okay, I really prefer to not have to be in the spotlight. Okay, that is my preference. This is why I enjoy and can I don't know, kind of grow in solitude. And this is why I enjoy the quiet so much. This is why I do not mind being by myself. Okay, because I do not seek those things. And a lot of the collective, a lot of high vibrational beings, whether you resonate as being a earth angel or star seed or some other type of spiritual high vibrational being, you probably resonate with being okay with being alone and being quiet and being in the background and not being in the spotlight. You don't have to be the lead singer, okay? And so, yeah, all right. So, verse 31, okay? 4, they consider such a courtesy loaned out, and they feel called upon to make a greater feast for you, just in the payment of a debt. Okay, just in the payment of a debt. All right. Yeah. And I don't know if I shouldn't say maybe not rather be alone, but I just, I don't know. I just prosper in the solitude as well. Whereas many may find it difficult to be alone. Okay. Many can find it difficult to be alone and for long periods of time. Okay. I do not find it difficult. Uh, I cannot 100% agree with the energy of I'd rather be alone, because no, I'd rather have someone here who is on my same frequency, who vibrates with me in such a way, who's open to change in the ebbs and flows and that of life and spontaneity and uh, becoming and continuing to live their highest, purest, truest self. Um, but that takes a lot of qualifying. That takes a lot of qualifying. So, yeah, I can't say I would rather be alone, no. But I'm just saying I prosper in solitude for long periods of time, whereas many may find that difficult to do. Okay? Right, exactly, Chrissy. Yeah, same here. Yeah. But that person hasn't entered my world, so, okay, or I haven't been invited into theirs. So, yeah, okay, all right. So, let's see where we are here. Verse 32. But when you make a feast, invite the poor, the lame, the blind. In this, a blessing awaits for you. For well you know that you will get naught in return, but in the consciousness of helping those who need, you will be recompensed. One of the conversations that I am interested in having with anyone, a minister, uh, especially, okay, is this, okay? Um, and that is in your community. Now, granted, some people, okay, or have addictions and other things like that, and they choose their own choices, have them out on the street, okay? However, I would like to have this conversation with a minister. So, you are for the community. You are here to make the community better, okay? You are here to heal the community, right? You are here to do that. Show people the right way, right? Show them the light. You are here to do those things. So let me ask you a question, sir or ma'am, okay? Why do you have thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars in the bank at the end of the month, and there are still homeless people in your city that choose not to be homeless, that are right there around the corner. It's like the White House. All those pretty pictures you see of the White House, right outside the fence, there are a row of homeless people that sleep outside the White House fence. True fact. It's like the White House. So you see all of these churches lined up and down these streets. But you wonder, why is this and why is that? Why is there a drive-by still happening? Why is this still going on? Why is that still going on? A block away. You wonder why. Because those who are preaching that message, whatever that happens to be in those buildings, although they say it, they do not comprehend that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And so while they have church every Sunday morning, every Wednesday night for Bible study, okay, while they have these services, they are conquering nothing of the Spirit. They are just doing religious practices, just like they were when Yeshua corrected them about healing on the Sabbath. They are just doing religious practices. And that man or that woman who needed healing on that day would die. Because the Baptists say, because the non-denominational say, because the Methodists say, because the Pentecostals say, because the Catholics say, because the Seventh-day Adventists say, because the Jehovah's Witnesses say, you shouldn't do this. So that man or woman loses their life. This is what religion does. Verse 33, and then he spoke a parable. He said, a wealthy man prepared a feast. He sent his servants forth to bid his chosen ones to come. And they formed such excuses as they thought would satisfy the would-be host. Okay. So saying what you think is going to please someone rather than the truth. One said, I have just bought a piece of land, and I must go and prove my title to the land. I pray to be excused. Another said, I must go down and prove my ownership in sheep that I have bought. I pray to be excused. Another said, I have been married but a little time, and so I cannot go. I beg to be excused. Now, when the servants came and told the men who had prepared the feast that those who had invited would not come, those he had invited would not come, the man was grieved in heart. And then he sent his servants forth into the streets and alleys of the town to bring up to the feast the poor, the lame, the blind. The man went abroad and found the poor, the lame, the blind, and brought them in, but there was room for more. The host then sent men of arms to bring by force the people to the feast, and then the house was full. Okay, so once everybody was in, the house was full. And God has made a feast for men. Long years ago, he sent his servant forth unto the favored sons of men. They would not hear his call. They came not to the feast. He then sent forth his servants to the strangers and the multitudes, and they came, but there is room for more. Okay, so within the kingdom, there is room for more. Anyone out there feeling there is no more hope for them, okay, there's room for more. Okay, anyone out there feeling like there's no room for you, there's no space for you, divine source doesn't love you, God doesn't care about you. There is room for more. That includes you. So be encouraged. Behold, for he will send his angels forth with mighty trumpet blast, and men will be compelled to come up to the feast. Chapter 142 of the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua. The path of discipleship, its difficulties. Okay. The cross and its meaning, the danger of wealth, the young man who loved wealth more than he loved Christ, parable of the rich man and Lazarus. And good evening to all of you once again. I hope you're doing well wherever you're tuning in from. Chapter 142 of the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua. Now, Yeshua and the 12 went to another town, and as they entered it, they said, "Peace be to all, goodwill to all." A multitude of people followed, and the master said to them, "Behold, for you are followers for selfish gain. If you would follow me in love and be disciples of the holy breath and gain at least the crown of life." So there is more, or at last, there is more. At last, the crown of life, you must leave all there is of carnal life behind. Okay, so we're talking about stepping out of the 3D, removing all attachments, okay, to the 3D, the chasing of the money, okay, the chasing of the sex, the sexy, the whatever that is, okay? The chasing of another, okay? To let all of those things go, all right? That's not to say that you are not to be employed, not to earn an income, but these should not be the priorities in your life, in your journey. Verse 3, if you would follow me in love and be disciples of a holy breath and gain at last the crown of life, you must leave all there is of carnal life behind. Be not deceived. Stay, men, and count the cost. If one would build a tower or a home, he first sits down and counts the cost to be assured that he has gold enough to finish it. For well he knows that if he makes a failure of the enterprise, he may lose all his wealth and be the butt of ridicule. Okay? The butt of ridicule with improper planning. Okay? And if a king desires to take the kingdom of another king, he calls his trusted men, and they consider well their strength. He will not measure arms with one of matchless power. Count well the cost before you start to follow me. It means the giving up of life and all you have. All of the attachments to the 3D, it means giving up all of those things. If you love father, mother, wife, or child more than you love the Christ, you cannot follow me. Listen to this. If you love father, mother, wife, or child more than you love the Christ, you cannot follow me. Why is this so significant? Okay? At least the way that I'm seeing it now. Why is this so significant? Because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, because we come down here to resolve karmic debts, okay, for reincarnation, we come down here to sin again, okay? reincarnated to take care of karmic debts, okay? And to bring wisdoms from previous lives, paths, or lifetimes learned, okay? Because of this, a mother or a father, a wife or a child, an aunt or an uncle in the 3D is not necessarily someone you should stay close to just because they hold those 3D titles. Because should there ever come a time and day when they betray you and you need to walk away from them, if you love them more than you love Christ, if you love them more than you love yourself, you will not walk away from that karmic situation. This is why you cannot love mother, father, wife, or child more than you love the Christ. Okay? If you love wealth or honor more than you love the Christ, you cannot follow me. The paths of carnal life do not run up the mountainside toward the top. They run around. The paths of carnal life. The paths of carnal life do not run up the mountain. Okay? So they do not get you up the mountain. The paths of carnal life. They do not get you up the mountain. They run around. Around. The mount of life, excuse me, I apologize. I'm adjusting my hand. Okay. They run around the mount of life, and if you go straight to the upper gate of consciousness through meditation, the upper gate of consciousness, you cross the paths of carnal life. Tread in them not. And this is how men bear the cross. No man can bear another's cross. Take up your cross and follow me through Christ into the path of true discipleship. This is the path that leads to life. This is the path that leads to life, everyone. This way of life is called the pearl of greatest price, and he who finds it must put all he has beneath his feet. Okay. Behold, a man found in a certain field the croppings of a wondrous mine of gold, and he went forth and sold his home and all he had and bought the field. Then he rejoiced in wealth. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sabrina, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, Queen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you're both doing well and everyone else tuning in. Verse 16. Now, there were present scribes and Pharisees of wealth who loved their money and their bonds and land, and they laughed loud to scorn what Yeshua said. Then Yeshua spoke to them and said, you are the men who justify yourselves in sight of men. God knows the wickedness of your heart. Yeah, you do. God knows, divine source knows the wickedness of their heart. And you must know, O men, that whatsoever is revered and is exalted by the carnal mind is an abomination, listen to me, abomination in the sight of God. And Yeshua went his way, and as he went, a young man ran and knelt down at his feet and said, Good master, tell me what to do that I may have eternal life. And Yeshua said, Why do you call me good? No one is truly good but God himself. Okay? And God has said, if you would enter into life, keep the commandments of the law. That is spiritual law. Okay? That is spiritual law. Okay? Not the 10 Commandments, not the laws of the church. That is spiritual law. The young man asked, to which commands did he refer? And Yeshua said, you shall, okay? Not kill, you shall not steal, you shall not adulterous things, you shall not falsely testify, okay? You shall love your God with all your heart, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself, okay? The man replied, these things I have observed from youth. What lack I yet? And Yeshua said, one thing you lack, your heart is fixed on things of the earth. You are not free. Okay? All right? And so I said spiritual laws, and these things are the spiritual laws. Okay? These are the things that divine source originally told man. Okay? The first law, spiritual laws after being exiled from the garden. Okay? These things were the same things that Adam and Eve were told. Okay? Moses was not the first one to receive those commandments. Okay? So, those spiritual laws that man continuously breaks today and on an even grander scale. Okay? All right? So one thing this young man is missing, okay, and that is that he seeks earthly wealth. He is hard after money. He will do just about anything to get a dollar, apparently. Verse 27, go forth and sell all that you have and give your money to the poor and come and follow me, and you shall have eternal life. The man was grieved at... Well, the man was grieved at what the master said, for he was rich. He hid his face and went in sorrow on his way. And Yeshua looked upon the sorrowing man and said, I just think that's so funny that Yeshua tried him just like that on the spot. Okay? And Yeshua looked upon the sorrowing man and said, it is so hard for men with hoarded wealth to enter through the door into the kingdom of the soul. And his disciples were amazed at what he said. He answered them and said, I tell you, men, that they who trust in riches cannot trust in God and cannot come into the kingdom of the soul. Okay. There needs to be somebody's political campaign right there. There needs to be someone's political campaign right there. Verse 31. Right. Yea, it is easier for a camel to go through a needle's eye than for a man with hoarded wealth to find the way of life. And his disciples said, who then can find the way? Who can be saved? Hello, Angel. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Yeshua said, the rich man may give his gold away, the high may kiss the dust, and God will save. Then Yeshua spoke his parable to them. A rich man lived in splendid state. He wore the finest garments men could make. His boards were loaded with the costliest viands of the land. Okay? So a very wealthy, very prosperous, okay, individual, okay, Warren Buffett, okay, Elon Musk, okay, Bill Gates, all right, a beggar, blind and lame, whose name was Lazarus, was wont to sit beside the waste gate of the home, that he might share with the dogs the refuse from the rich man's boards or tables. It came to pass that Lazarus died, and angels carried him away unto the bosom of our father Abraham. The rich man also died, and was buried in a costly tomb, and in the purifying fires he opened up his eyes, dissatisfied. The rich man was, where his soul had landed, dissatisfied. He looked and saw the beggar resting peacefully in the bosom of his father Abraham, and in the bitterness of his soul he cried, My father Abraham, look down in mercy on your son. I am tortured in these flames. Send Lazarus, I beseech you, that he may give me just a sup of water, just a drop of water to cool my parched tongue. But Abraham replied, My son, in mortal life, you had the best things of the earth, and Lazarus had the worst. And you would not give him a cup of water there, okay, but drove him from your door. The law must be fulfilled, and Lazarus now is comforted. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. And you are paying what you owe, karmic debt. In the last, this is what I was going to say. In the last reading, we learned that all afflictions are karmic debts. Okay, all afflictions, illnesses, poverty, mental illness, all of it. Okay, all of it. Sexually transmitted demons, they are STDs, sexually transmitted demons, all afflictions are spiritual debts. Okay? Yeshua specifically spoke those words. All right? So, continuing on, verse 44. Besides, there is a great gulf mixed between your zone and us. A great gulf mixed between your zone and us. And if I would, excuse me for just one moment while I take care of this TV here. I apologize for that. All right. Verse 44, beside there is a gulf fixed between your zone and us. Okay? From where you sit and us. And if I would, I could not send Lazarus to you, and you could not come up to us till you have paid your debts. Again, the man in anguish said, O Father Abraham, I pray, send Lazarus back to earth, and I to my father's house, that he may tell my brothers who are yet in life, for I have 5 of them, about the horrors of this place, lest they come down to me and not to you. And Abraham replied, they have words of Moses, and the seers, let them hear them. Okay? Those with special spiritual gifts to see, They let them know. The man replied, they will not hearken to, the man replied, they will not hearken to the written word. But if a man would go up from the grave, they might believe. But Abraham replied, if they hear not the words of Moses and the seers, they would not be persuaded, even though one from the dead stood in their midst. So if they do not believe Moses' word, okay, and the others, they will not believe a man coming from the dead. And Peter said, Lord, we have have left all to follow you. And what is our reward? And Yeshua said, most verily or truly, I say to you, that you have left all to follow me. You who have left all to follow me, come into a newness of a life hid deep with Christ in God. And you shall sit with me upon the throne of power and judge with me the tribes of Israel. You shall sit with me, those who have chosen the higher vibration, the higher self, those who have chosen to walk away from what no longer serves them, those who have chosen to ascend, to awaken, to follow their Christ nature. Those will sit on the throne with Yeshua in power and judge with him the tribes of Israel. And he who conquers the carnal self, as I just mentioned, and follows me through Christ, shall have 100-fold of that which is the wealth of life on earth, and in the world to come, eternal life. So it is possible to have wealth on earth and to be a divine being, to be a high vibrational being, to be an honest, truthful, upright, trustworthy being. It is possible because Yeshua states it here. Okay. So, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. This is Esoteric Wisdom and Spiritual Truths. My name is Nehru. This is our Wednesday, 8 p.m. reading of a canonical text. We are currently journeying through the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua, and we have just finished up the 142nd chapter. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, Sean. Okay? Peace and blessings to you. Okay? I know the one in the middle of the week is a little more difficult to get to for some of you, depending on what time zones around the globe you are in. Okay? But thank you so much, as always, for checking in. Okay? For subscribing, for being a part of the journey, most importantly, for embracing your journey to become your highest, purest, truest self. Okay? Thank you so much, as always. My name is Nehru. Again, if you are interested in learning more about me, you can take a look at the About section of the channel or the description section of this live video for any spiritual services that I provide if you are interested in those. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Thank you so much. Likewise, Chrissy, and to all. Enjoy your evening. Sleep well. Rest easy. Okay. And I look forward to seeing and exchanging with you in the next live. As always, be encouraged.